feeling like I'm Akademiks.
YNW Bortlen got offered YNW Bortlen. He got offered 16 years, which is an interesting turn because he's facing life in prison. But clearly they want to convict Melly. And they want to convict Melly so bad, they're down to give this guy, if you don't know the whole story, this guy was the driver and the guy who helped Melly cover up, in the state's opinion, the double murder of his two other friends. They were all friends, four of them. They were in the car. The guy who was driving, Bortlen, he wasn't a part of the crime. But after Melly shot both of the niggas in the car and killed them, he then helped Melly to cover it up. He dropped Melly off at a location that Melly could get picked up and go home. And then he brought the dead bodies, which I think that's the craziest thing. To bring the dead bodies of your friends to the hospital and then lie to investigators that it was a drive-by, yo, that's crazy. Like, my nigga, that's crazy. Anyway, let's get into this a little bit.
Side continue to present whatever evidence, witnesses, or testimony they'd like to do before that. So I'm going to pause on the evidentiary portion today. I do want to have a quick conversation with Mr. Henry. I'm going to put him under oath, talk to him about the charges, make sure he understands the maximum possible penalties, make sure he understands the state offer.
I think that's something else that defense wants to speak to him about.
Well, I'm going to put it on the record right now, but he doesn't.
Now, keep in mind, Melly got locked up, I believe, 2018. So he's been locked up for like 7 years now. And the first trial ended up in a mistrial. And he's about to go to trial for the second time, but the trial was scheduled to start this year. They pushed it back to next year. So, you know, he's been trying to aggressively try to get out of jail. He just hired, I believe, Drew Finland. It's kind of looking like the state doesn't want him to get out, and they're not going to give him any reasonable plea because this is what they call a heinous crime. They were pursuing a death penalty for a while. Actually, this might be a death penalty case. Like, you killing two people point blank range, your homies in a car. If that's what happened, that's some shit. They're trying to make sure you don't see the light of day again, right? So they're down to even give this guy a deal as long as they could get Melly locked up for life. Now, this guy's been locked up. You know, he got out on bond a couple times, but he's been locked up for a good amount of time that he'll probably get credit for. If he takes his plea, which it was supposedly is going to be 16 years, number one, he definitely has to testify against Melly. But the time that he would spend would probably be like 8 years in jail. And then he'd be free.
Tell me what his answer is now, but I just want to make sure he has all the info. And what I'll tell you all, I'll be back here tomorrow, and then, you know, I'm going to tell Mr. Henry this as well, but for his benefit now, if he wants to resolve the cases by way of a negotiated plea, that's fine with me. And if he doesn't want to, that's fine with me too. But the one thing that I am going to change, if you need me to, I can put him on maybe Tuesday afternoon, the 9th. I'd rather just not do it. I'd rather know yes or no the day before, because there's a significant, number one, I don't want him to feel any pressure. But number two, I got 250 citizens coming in here Wednesday morning, and there's
Tuesday
just,
afternoon is fine, Your Honor.
yeah, if need be.
I have a hearing at 3:30.
Okay.
It's fee hearings, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get you the details of the plea.
For a mental illness, are they giving you any medication in the jail right now? All right. How are you feeling this morning? Your head is clear? You understand what's going on? All right, so Mr. Henry, listen, you got two cases. I'm going to go one at a time. In case number 19-1871 CF10A, right now, you're charged as follows. Counts 1 and 2 is murder in the first degree with a firearm. Those are capital felonies, which means it's a mandatory life sentence. If the jury convicts you of count 1 or count 2 as charged, that's life in Florida State Prison. I have no discretion. Count 3 and count 4 are accessory after the fact to murder in the first degree. Those are each first degree felonies. The maximum penalty for each of those is 30 years in Florida State Prison. Okay? In your other case, which is case number 23-10643 CF10A, you're charged as follows. Count 1 is tampering with a witness in a capital felony. That is punishable by life in Florida State Prison. All right? As the maximum penalty. Count 2 is directing the activities of a criminal gang. That's a first-degree felony punishable by life. So the maximum penalty there is also life in Florida State Prison. Count 5 is conspiracy to commit tampering. And again, as it's charged, that is also a life felony. The maximum penalty is life in Florida State Prison. And lastly, count 7 is unlawful use of a two-way communication device. As that's charged, it's a second-degree felony. The maximum penalty is 15 years in Florida State Prison. So right now, as to all the charges that you're facing, the maximum possible penalties are as follows. It's life in Florida State Prison, followed by 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 75 years in Florida.
Gang, there's too many people snitching, bro. I would have took the plea right there, bro. Bro, Your Honor, you don't got to finish, bro. Just let me out of here, bro. Nah. Yo.
State prison.
Nah, that was crazy.
Those are capital felonies, which means it's a mandatory life sentence. If the jury convicts you of count 1 or count 2 as charged, that's life in Florida State Prison. I have no discretion. In your other case, that is punishable by life in Florida State Prison, all right, as the maximum penalty. Count 2, to commit tampering penalty is a device, as that's charged. The second, as to all the charges that you're facing,
This is crazy.
the maximum possible penalties are as follows. It's life in Florida State Prison, followed by 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 75 years in Florida State Prison.
Oh, hell nah. Yo, you know what I would have said? You know what I said? Your Honor, pass me that goddamn bologna sandwich and take my phone number, cause sorry, nigga, I'm finna go home. Come on, bruv. Come on, bruv. Just pass me the bologna sandwich, man. Pass me the bologna sandwich and let's get this shit going on, man.
Do you understand the charges and the maximum possible penalties involved? Okay. So, Mr. Henry, the state is telling me that they're extending an offer to you, and the offer is as follows. In case number 19-1871 CF10A, they're going to null process or drop counts 1 and 2, both first-degree murder charges. Okay.
By the way, he should beat those charges, chat. Like, he didn't murder the guys. It's really alleged that Melly did it. However, they charge him with murder in case he was in on it, but there's no proof he was in on it. They barely got proof that they got proof that Melly did it, supposedly, but they don't got no proof this nigga was in on it. You'd have to prove he was in on it. But those are the charges that carry mandatory life.
And in exchange for that, as to counts 3 and 4, in that case, the accessory after the fact to murder in the first degree, you're going to plead no contest to both of those. And as to the 4 counts in case number 23-10643 CF10A, you're going to plead no contest to all 4 of those counts. And in exchange for all of that, the state is offering that I would adjudicate you guilty and sentence you to the bottom of your sentencing guidelines, which is 195.45 months, about 16, it's a shade over 16 years and 3 months, 16 years and 3 months. All of those sentences will run concurrently, that is at the same time with each other. I would give you credit for all the time that you have served.
Yeah, it sounds like they want this thing to take this shit, don't they?
Understanding that you have a lot less credit time on the 23 case because it's a newer case. So that is what would be controlling. Whatever credit time you have on the 23 case, you could subtract that from the 100
I think
and...
he actually has more time on the 23 case than the 19 he's out of custody.
Oh, okay. Well, whichever case you have more time, less time in custody, that's what would happen. And you get the credit for all the time that you've served. And again, that sentence would be 16 years, a shade over 16 years, 3 months in Florida State Prison. I would have to order restitution. The state would tell me the amount of that restitution. That restitution would be joint and several with any of your other co-defendants. If any of the other co-defendants were convicted at trial or entered pleas. In other words, the restitution only has to be paid once, but each person is responsible for 100% of it. All right, but as soon as it's paid, it's paid. I would have to impose mandatory court costs in each case, and I would have to impose a mandatory cost of prosecution in each case, which is $100. So, Mr. Henry, do you understand the offer that the state is making to you? Okay, the 16 years, 3 months, and a shade more. So I'm going to pause on it at this point, Mr. Henry. It's going to give you some time, whether that be tonight or also over the weekend, to talk to your lawyers about it. Make sure they answer all your questions, talk to your family about it, so you can make a decision as to what you want to do. Now, let me explain this to you, sir. I can't make the state make you an offer, and I can't make you accept any offer. I'm just the referee, okay? This is a business decision between you, your lawyers, and the state. And if you want to accept it and resolve both cases that way, that's fine with me. And if you want to have a trial in both cases, that's fine with me too. It doesn't matter to me in any way, shape, or form. But whether it be tomorrow, when I see you tomorrow, and then Ms. Wilcox, she already has tomorrow at 9 o'clock, that'll remain on. But I'll put them on, both cases as well, next Tuesday, which is September the 9th. Let's just call it 1:30 in the afternoon. September the 9th at 1:30 in the afternoon. We'll call it trial status in both cases. That's when we're gonna have to finish this conversation, Mr. Henry, and you're gonna have to tell me that either that you understand the offer that the state's making, that your lawyers have answered your questions about it, and then you're gonna have to tell me what your decision is, whether you want to accept the offer or whether you want to reject the offer. Mr. Henry, the one additional thing that I like to talk to people who are sitting in this situation that you're sitting in right now and have this conversation is as follows.
Judge seemed reasonable, but I do think the judge is pushing for him to take it. You know, most, charges and cases are really resolved by plea deals. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think they have that much on him. I think they do got accessory to murder, but they have to prove the murder first. So it's not like a slam dunk. And I think they're kind of scaring him a bit. They got to prove that Melly did the murder. I don't think that he was involved in, even if we believe the state, he's not involved in the murder. So they gave him these charges to really, fuck with him. But I think he would beat those murder charges. It would be the murder charge of the two guys. I think he would beat it. But accessory to murder, I believe he would be found guilty on if they could prove that Melly did the murder. Because the state's ideology would be you help the murderer cover it up after the fact. But if they can't prove that Melly did the murder, this guy can't be the accessory to the murder they can't prove. So, it's still rolling the die a bit just to, he could beat this whole case. It depends on if he wants to, quote unquote, I guess, stay solid. Now, we don't hear about a cooperation type of situation. And because it's a state court, it's not as black and white as that. So this deal that exists, we don't know if there's some other arrangement that is contingent on, right? Now, clearly it looks like it's in front of the judge, so it looks like it wouldn't come with maybe any additional cooperation unless there was cooperation before. But it could have been cooperation, right? It could have been cooperation that's kind of like installed in the deal. We don't know, right? Because, again, for this plea deal to officially go, the judge has to sign off on it, but it has to be put in front of the judge after it's been accepted. And sometimes the prosecutor will be like, well, we got to see that you satisfactorily dealt with the stipulations as per the deal, which means you're going to tell. Like, for example, the guy Cornelius Smith in the Dolph case, he has a plea deal that's sitting on the table, right? We don't know the details of that plea deal yet, but he has that plea deal, but that won't get signed off or even offered to the judge until, well, it's going to get done now because everybody went to jail or it got acquitted. Hernandez Govan got acquitted, straight drop, went to jail. This tells me there might not be cooperation, but you can't rule it out because the judge is saying you have until tomorrow and this deal is no good after that, supposedly.
The reason that I'm doing this is because I want the record to be clear what the state's offer was and the record to be clear that you understood it and that you had enough time to talk to your lawyers about it. You had enough time to talk to your family about it. You weren't under any pressure to make a decision, whatever you thought was in your best interest. Because it goes kind of like this. and I'm sure your lawyers could speak to it better than I can. If you accept the state's offer, that's fine. And again, if you don't accept it, that's fine too. But if you don't accept it, and one of these trials doesn't go your way, and you end up with life in Florida State Prison, which is a mandatory sentence on a lot of these counts, usually people in that situation, then they'll file what's called a motion for post-conviction relief, and they'll say, hey, Judge, my lawyer never told me. I didn't know that I could resolve all this for 16 years and 3 months. And if they would have told me that, I would have done it. And now I'm sitting here with a life sentence. So that's the reason I'm having this conversation now. So the record is going to be crystal clear on that issue. If it doesn't go your way, that argument's not going to be available to you to come back and say, hey, my lawyers didn't tell me about this, or I didn't know about this. So that's why I'm talking to you about it now. So, Mr. Henry, do you have any questions for me about the maximum possible penalties involved, or what the state's offer is to you as we're talking about it right now? Okay. All right, so I'm going to pause on that part of the conversation, and we'll finish that other part of the conversation either tomorrow or next Tuesday afternoon. I'm going to leave Jan for tomorrow, all pending motions, which is September the 5th at 9 o'clock.
To the Memorial Miramar Hospital.
It was the morning of the 26th.
7 a.m.
October 26th, 2018 morning. Yes.
And what, if anything, was the call that you received?
I believe it was very generic. Couple dead bodies at the hospital being dropped off by a friend. And just so you know, I don't get into great details when they call me out when I'm asleep, because most of the time early information is not accurate anyway. So that's all I had, is some semblance of what was going on when I headed to the hospital.
And you specifically do that. You don't know too much so that you can get there and form your own
Yeah,
investigation.
exactly.
And let me kind of ask you, at that point in time, what was your role with the Miramar Police Department? I know you were a homicide detective, but were you kind of stepping back a bit because you were getting ready to retire?
Yeah, kind of internally within our team. We know when people are about to retire, and we try not to put them in really important positions in homicide as they get close to retirement for reasons like this.
7 years later,
Yeah.
come back to court.
Yeah, retired. And so, but yeah, I was definitely taking a back seat on a lot of things. I think that my saying was, I don't want to interview the shooter. I don't want to find the gun.
Excellent.
I don't want to interview the shooter. I don't want to find the gun.
So what was your role when you arrived at the hospital? What did you do with Portland, Henry?
We were trying to locate the scene of the crime.
Why were you all trying to locate the scene of the crime?
Evidence, video, hard evidence, video, anything we could. So also, we want to make sure it's in our jurisdiction. That's like an important part. But no, we're just trying to determine where the crime occurred.
At the time when you drove to Portland, Henry, was he a suspect in this case?
No, he's a victim.
You all at that point believed he was a victim of this drive-by shooting?
Yes.
So when Portland Henry got into your car, what kind of car were you all driving?
It would have been a detective car. I'm not sure if...
An unmarked.
So basically, he drops off the dead bodies at the hospital. The police show up. The police is kind of hearing him say, yo, these guys shot at us. They killed 2 of my friends. And the cop basically says, yo, where did y'all get shot at? He tells him a story, and the cop says, okay, get in my car. Let's go to the place that this happened at, right? So they're trying to find the crime scene.
Unmarked, yeah.
Would there be any cage in the back or anything like that?
No.
Do you recall where in the car he sat?
I want to say I believe he was in the front seat.
Next to you.
Yes.
What did Mr. Henry do with you in the vehicle?
He directed me to the location, and it seemed like it wasn't very forthcoming, and went back to the station. He was courteous. Wasn't, obviously I don't think he's cooperative in that situation, but
So there was no questioning back and forth between you and him?
no. Well, questioning is, where's this location? Exactly, yeah. Nothing about potential suspect or the investigative part. We're just trying to determine where it happened, what happened. If he's a witness, he can.
Okay, so it looked like, I don't know when they added these murder charges to him, because I know he had accessory for murder, but look like they've added the murder charges, and look like this is a preliminary hearing for this. So I don't know. We'll see. All right. By the way, speaking of which, Cardi B actually beat her case. And I know we didn't really get to cover it, but